I thought I knew what betrayal looked like. The estrangement, the strange perfume, the red flags that were impossible to ignore, everything was perfect until one day. One day, when we were driving to the store, namely, in the front seat of our family car, when I picked up her cell phone and read the words, "Last night with you was dangerous and amazing." The message was from a bunny, and I thought it was some kind of prank, but what happened next? I have to tell you about it, and so. My name is Mark. I'm 35. My wife, Elisa, just turned 32. We met at university, fell in love in the kind of way you don't question. It was simple, clean. We married young, moved to a city just big enough to feel alive but small enough to know where to get the best bagel without asking. Our son, Nico, was born 3 years ago. Then, this past January, our daughter Isabella arrived. Life had a rhythm. Morning coffee at 7:05. Kisses at the door by 8 o'clock. Dinner by 6:30. Lullabies by 8 o'clock. Toes touching on the couch by 9 o'clock. I could tell you the shape of Elisa's yawn. I could time the way she said aha when she really meant no. We were close, or so I thought. One day, mid-October 2 years ago, I picked up her phone to call Nico from the car. Mine was dead. I wasn't snooping. I remember the warmth of the heater on my legs, the low hum of traffic. Then I saw it, a message thread with a name I didn't recognize, Liam. I didn't scroll far. I didn't have to. Last night was dangerous. You make me forget myself. Elisa said he was drunk. That she felt uncomfortable. That she deleted the rest of the chat because it felt wrong. She looked me in the eyes when she said it. But my gut whispered something else. Love teaches you to quiet those whispers. So I did. Weeks passed. But the silence in me started to scream. One night, ashamed, I checked her deleted photos. And there it was, a picture of Elisa kissing Liam. Not a casual kiss. A kiss that said, I know this is wrong. But I want it anyway. The house was quiet when I confronted her. Elisa cried. She said it lasted 2 months. That they kissed. That they got too close, but didn't fully cross the line. It was mostly emotional, she said. A crisis of turning 30. Liam made her feel noticed, desired. Said he was in love with her and she didn't know how to walk away. She was scared of losing her job, he worked under her. But when I asked her to choose, she didn't hesitate. She chose me. I believed her. Or maybe I just needed to. We started therapy. Grew close again. Rebuilt, slowly. I let myself imagine a future where this became a story we survived. A chapter. We even talked about having another baby. That was my mistake, believing healing follows a straight line. Nico's pregnancy had been a kind of beautiful chaos. Elisa glowed, the way that word is overused, but finally made sense. She craved green apples and midnight cereal. She laughed more. We built the crib together, even though it took 3 wrong tries and left me with a splinter I cursed for days. We sang to her belly, imagined names, shared ultrasounds, and planned showers. It was a world of anticipation. I still remember her grip on my hand when her water broke, firm, eyes wide with awe. When Nico took his first breath, I thought, this is it. This is what life is meant for. For a while, our love felt unbreakable. Then came Isabella's pregnancy. Harder. Draining. Elisa battled constant sickness. She became a shadow of herself. I stepped in, father, nurse, cook, cleaner. And slowly, Liam returned to her messages. Casually, at first. She showed me. Said it was nothing. That he was backing off. That she just missed having someone to talk to. And I, fool that I was, believed her again. When Isabella was born, it felt like a victory. We were a team. Liam disappeared. Or so she said. Then one day, I saw her texting her cousin. Elisa had sent a screenshot of a message she wrote to Liam. This is the longest we've gone without talking. I miss you. It was the word miss that stuck with me. Not because it was dramatic. But because it was gentle. Familiar. Real. She said I was overreacting. That she was just tired. That it meant nothing. Weeks later, we traveled to Florence to visit her family. One evening, she went on a walk with her cousin. I stayed behind with the kids. Her iPad sat open on the kitchen counter. A note was open. A draft message. Maybe a diary entry. I'll never know. It wasn't just emotional. I still love you. But I can't be with you if you don't love me too. If not, I'll stay with Mark. Because I have to. I reread it until the words blurred. It didn't say when it was written, but I knew. It was recent. Too recent. That night, while she slept, I checked her WhatsApp. In the blocked messages folder, I found him, Liam. Still there. Still talking. Even that night. And now, here I am. In Florence. Wondering if my daughter is even mine. We went to dinner last night. Told each other we loved one another. I meant it. And maybe she did too. But love shouldn't feel like this. Florence is beautiful in the wrong kind of way right now. It's the kind of beauty that makes pain feel sharper. You look at a city that stood for centuries, and you wonder how anything could be so permanent when your marriage feels so fragile. Elisa's been humming lately. Not singing, humming. I used to love that. Now it feels like a smoke alarm, just faint enough to make you doubt your own ears. She hums when she folds laundry, when she brushes Isabella's hair, when she slices tomatoes too thin on the cutting board. I find myself watching her the way you watch a stranger, carefully, curiously. And then I start noticing the gaps. The 20-minute showers. The phone-died messages. And the silence around Liam. His name doesn't come up anymore, not even in passing complaints. It's like he never existed, which somehow makes him feel even more present. One evening, Elisa was out on the balcony at her parents' place, rocking Isabella. I stepped out to offer her a blanket. It was one of those quiet Italian nights when you can hear silverware clinking through open windows. She didn't hear me at first, her phone was in her hand. And she was smiling at it. Not a laugh. Not a grin. That soft, private smile people make when someone says exactly what they need to hear. Elisa? She jumped. Turned her screen over without thinking. Oh, just scrolling, she said, too quickly. Then she looked up and saw the blanket in my hands, and for a second, I saw it, guilt, flickering across her face like a ghost in a mirror. But she blinked, and it vanished. The next morning, I sat at a cafe with an espresso that had gone cold. Across from me, Nico was tearing open a sugar packet like it held the answer to something important. He looked up, grinning, cinnamon sugar on his cheeks. I'm building a volcano, he declared. And I started crying. Right there in the middle of Piazza Santo Spirito. The kind of cry that sneaks up on you, tightens your throat and chest before your eyes even catch on. Nico stared, puzzled. Daddy? Did I break it? I laughed, still crying. No, buddy, I said. You built it just right. That night, I opened my laptop and created a folder. I labeled it just in case. Screenshots. Photos. The note from her iPad. I didn't want to be the kind of man who checks behind his wife's back. But I also didn't want to be the kind of man who figures it all out too late. There's a sound that comes with betrayal, it's not a scream, not a slam. It's quieter. Like the moment before a violin string snaps. That's what my world started sounding like. After Florence, everything felt like a clue. A coffee mug left out seemed like a message. A stray hair on her scarf that wasn't mine. She said it came from her dad's chair. Maybe it did. But maybe it didn't. I started counting things. The number of times Elisa sighed at dinner. How long it took her to answer texts. How often she mentioned Liam, not directly, but in the spaces where his name used to live. It's strange how silence can scream when you know what it's hiding. Even happy moments felt suspicious. Like the afternoon we took the kids to the zoo. Nico was electric, shouting at the lions, racing from one exhibit to the next like joy in sneakers. For a second, I let myself feel good. Like maybe we were okay. Then her phone lit up in her hand. She tilted the screen away as she read it. No name popped up. Of course not. You don't label the fire when you're trying to hide the smoke. That night, after the kids were asleep, I lay beside her in bed. She was scrolling through videos, TikTok, maybe. Or pretending to. I asked, "Are you happy?" She didn't look up. "Yeah. Of course." "Why?" I stared at the ceiling. "Just wondering. We've been through a lot." Then she turned. Her eyes softened. "Mark, I know it's been hard. But I'm here, okay? I'm with you. I chose us." I nodded. Even smiled. But I noticed what was missing. She didn't say, "I love you." Just, "I'm here." As if her body beside me was enough to prove her heart hadn't left. I couldn't sleep. I got up, walked to the kitchen, and opened that just-in-case folder. I stared at it like it might offer something new if I clicked it again. Instead, I opened the voice memos app. Whispered into it, "If I'm wrong, let me be wrong in peace. But if I'm right, please give me the courage to act." The next morning, I texted an old friend, Dario. Used to work in IT security. Now freelances for law firms. I kept it light. "Hey, weird question. Can someone recover deleted WhatsApp messages?" He replied with a thumbs up emoji and a link. No judgment. No follow-up. Just a door opening. Later that week, Elisa made lemon risotto, my favorite. She even poured the wine. Sat across from me in candlelight like it was date night. It should have felt like romance. But it felt like something else. Halfway through dinner, Nico, mouthful of breadstick, blurted, "Mommy, why did you say you missed Liam?" My fork stopped midair. Elisa went pale. "What?" Nico beamed. "You told Aunt Gianna. On the phone. I heard. Remember?" Elisa smiled, too tightly. "Oh, honey, that was a different Liam." But her hand trembled slightly as she lifted her glass. That night, after the kids were asleep, I asked her, straight on, "Are you still talking to him?" Her answer came too fast. "No." No hesitation? I said. Not even a pause? She crossed her arms. "You're starting to sound paranoid." "Maybe I am," I said. "But paranoid people still get lied to." She gave a short, brittle laugh. "What do you want, Mark? For me to say I'm a terrible person again? Haven't we moved past this?" "No," I said quietly. "We've moved around it." The next day, Dario sent me an encrypted file. "Use this password," he wrote. "It'll show everything that was deleted from her backup." I stared at the file. My hands were shaking. I didn't open it. Not that night. Instead, I sat beside Nico on the couch. He was watching a cartoon about time-traveling pandas. I wasn't really watching. He leaned into me, small head on my arm. "Daddy," he asked. "Yeah? Are you and Mommy gonna be okay?" I blinked. "What makes you ask that?" He shrugged. "You look sad a lot." I kissed the top of his head. "I'm just tired, buddy." He nodded. "Okay. But when you're not tired anymore, can you be happy again?" I didn't answer. I just held him. And when he fell asleep, I opened the file. The contents of the file didn't surprise me. Not really. Old messages, flirty ones, the kind that use winks instead of punctuation. Deleted photos of sunsets, coffee mugs, a blurry picture of a tie, Liam's tie. I recognized it because I'd seen it on her before. She wore it once to a costume party and laughed when I asked whose it was. Said it was a joke. Apparently, the joke had layers. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Not directly. I was tired of scenes. Tired of crying into pillowcases, then waking up and pretending the fabric wasn't still damp. I told myself I needed space. Time. A plan. But really, I just needed a break from the ache. And then, like the universe had heard my silent plea for some tragic comedy, it delivered the one thing that could take a fragile marriage and throw it into full-blown chaos. Her mother arrived. Unannounced. 2 suitcases. A 3-month itinerary. And the loudest voice in Tuscany. Surprise! Rosetta beamed from the doorway, mascara already flaking from her joy at seeing the grandkids. I thought, what better way to support my daughter than to visit during the beautiful newborn stage? I stood frozen, Isabella wriggling in my arms, while Nico ran to her squealing like she was Santa with an accent. "Oh, look at you." Rosetta pinched my cheek. My cheek. Still too thin. "Are you eating?" "Elisa, you're feeding him, yes?" Elisa looked caught somewhere between horror and nostalgia. "Mama, I told you Mark and I are fine." "Exactly. So now you have help. And questions." Rosetta smiled like a cat who had just taken up permanent residence in the birdcage. From that moment on, our marriage had a third wheel. She commented on everything: my posture, the baby's socks, the spice level in the risotto, not enough, apparently. And every night after the kids were in bed, she'd settle into the armchair like a judge preparing for cross-examination. So, she'd ask, peering over her glasses, "How's the intimacy?" Elisa groaned. "Mama, please." "What?" "It matters," Rosetta would say. "No passion, no glue. Trust me, I've had 3 husbands." One night, as I poured myself a drink, scotch, neat, my new quiet hobby, Rosetta wandered into the kitchen. "You look tired," she said. "Not sleeping?" "Something like that." She nodded thoughtfully. "You know, Elisa used to write poems in high school. Beautiful ones. Full of heartbreak and fire. Always dramatic, that girl. Too much heart, it's a dangerous thing to carry." I didn't know what to say, so I just took a sip and nodded. Then, almost too casually, she added, "Sometimes people get too close to someone else because they're afraid they've stopped feeling anything. Even when they still love the one they're with." I looked up, startled. But her eyes were on the teacup in her hand. "Did she tell you something?" I asked. "No, Caro." She shrugged. "But I know the signs." She patted my shoulder like I was a loyal dog and floated away humming an opera aria. That night, I opened my laptop. The folder was still there. But I didn't add anything to it. Instead, I wrote a letter. Not to Elisa. To myself. A promise, I would know the truth. All of it. And I would survive it. Then I closed the laptop and went back to bed, where Elisa lay sleeping on her side, one arm stretched out like she still wanted to hold something. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was just a dream. There's something especially painful about catching the lie you already believed. Like watching a magician perform a trick you'd already figured out and still being stunned when the rabbit appears. I didn't plan to confront her that day. Honestly, I'd been trying not to. But lies have weight. And one morning, after Rosetta took the kids to the park for her Nana bonding hour, the silence in the house pressed too hard. Elisa was folding laundry, humming again. That same tune. I watched her move, shirt by shirt, until I said it. I saw the messages. The hum stopped. She didn't turn around. "What messages?" "The ones you deleted. The ones to Liam." Her shoulders tensed. She turned slowly, a damp dish towel still in her hands. "How?" "I had help," I said. "Don't worry, no one else saw." "But I saw enough." There was a long pause. Then she sat down on the edge of the bed, hands resting in her lap. She looked like someone waiting for a shot, eyes fixed, body braced. "I didn't sleep with him," she said. "Not this time. This time." Her lips parted like she wanted to take the words back, but they just hung there between us. "It wasn't physical," she added. "It was talking. That's all." "Elisa, you told him you loved him." She inhaled sharply. "I told him I didn't want to. That I couldn't if he didn't feel the same. It was stupid. Emotional. Hormonal. I don't know. Hormonal?" I laughed, but it cracked in my throat. "You don't get to blame this on your body. I was sick. I was lonely. You were so focused on being everything for everyone, you stopped being you." I sat down across from her, slowly. "I lost myself trying to hold this family together. You lost yourself in someone else. Those aren't the same." Silence again. Then, in the smallest voice, she asked, "Do you want a divorce?" It was a trap, a cruel one. If I said yes, I'd be the one breaking the family. If I said no, I'd be the fool still trying to believe. So I said nothing. That night, Rosetta made dinner. Risotto again, her version this time, which was, admittedly, perfect. She chattered through the meal like we weren't sitting on top of something quietly splitting open. Later, as I poured myself another drink, Rosetta appeared beside me. "Did she tell you yet?" she asked. I looked at her. "Tell me what?" She waved a hand, impatient. "She said she would. Maybe she didn't have the nerve." "Rosetta." She lowered her voice. "Liam's leaving the company. Transferring to Milan. Alisa asked for it. Went to HR, said it was time." I froze. "She did that?" Rosetta nodded. "She didn't want to give you another reason to walk away. It didn't fix anything. But it shifted something. A flicker of effort. A gesture in the dark." Later that night, I found Alisa on the balcony. No phone. Just the skyline and the scent of rosemary from her mother's overgrown herb pots. She didn't speak when I joined her. Just handed me a photo from her pocket. It was us, college days. Wild-eyed and covered in blue paint from some charity run. Laughing like we didn't know how fragile love could become. "I found it in an old drawer," she said. "I forgot we used to be those people." "We're not those people anymore," I said. "No," she said softly. "But maybe we could be something new." I didn't answer. But I held the photo anyway, fingers curling around it like it might keep me warm. We didn't talk much after that night on the balcony. The days that followed felt like walking a tightrope. Every conversation teetered between silence and something breaking. Mornings were mechanical: coffee, breakfast, diapers. The rhythm of a family still functioning, even if the center was slipping. I started sleeping on the couch. Told her it was because of Isabella's sleep schedule. Told myself it was because I couldn't bear the sound of her breathing beside me. I kept replaying her question in my mind: "Do you want a divorce?" The way she asked it, like the papers were already drafted, waiting for my signature so she wouldn't have to be the one to end it. One night, Nico asked if mommy and daddy were still best friends. I lied. Then I excused myself and sat in the garage, the door half open, staring at the driveway shadows like they might offer advice. I didn't cry. I just sat with the weight of it. Her betrayal wasn't abstract anymore. It had shape. Massachusetts. A third presence in the house, standing quietly behind every closed door. And yet Alisa began to try. Or maybe perform. She cooked more. Laughed louder. Once, she reached for my hand at the sink and said, "I miss us." But I couldn't. I just couldn't meet her there. She looked away, embarrassed, and muttered, "Right. Of course." That night, I scrolled through Facebook until 2 a.m., searching for distraction. Instead, I found a memory from 9 years ago. Our engagement party. We were dancing under string lights in her cousin's backyard. She was barefoot. I was offbeat. We were laughing like we didn't know what heartbreak was. I remembered that version of myself. I liked him. I'm not sure he'd feel the same about who I am now. The next day, Rosetta cornered me in the hallway. "Are you punishing her?" she asked. No sarcasm. Just a quiet, cutting question. "I'm surviving," I said. She tilted her head. "If you're not going to forgive her, then leave. But don't stay just to make her ache. That's not love. That's revenge. And you're not that man." That night, I found Alisa crying in the bathroom. The door was cracked. Her face was buried in a towel, like she was trying to quiet the sound. She didn't see me. I almost walked away. Almost. Instead, I stepped inside. Sat down on the cold tile beside her. I didn't reach for her. Didn't say her name. We just sat there, quiet. After a while, she whispered, "I hate myself." I didn't tell her not to. I didn't say it would be okay. I just said, "Me too." And for a moment, we were honest. Then the baby cried, and the moment passed. We got up and returned to our roles. Parents. Pretenders. Survivors of the same wreck, still standing in the same house. Mornings became a kind of cruel joke. I'd wake up on the couch, stiff and sore, to the sound of Isabella crying and Alisa moving through the house like a ghost with a coffee cup. We'd stopped pretending we were okay, but we hadn't quite stopped pretending we were trying. It was like taping a cracked mirror together just to avoid seeing the truth in your own reflection. I started taking the kids out more. To the park. On grocery runs that took longer than they needed to. I didn't tell Elisa it was because being near her made me feel like I was bleeding on the inside. I just said, "You look tired, I've got them." But alone in the car, I'd glance at Nico in the rearview mirror, humming with his juice box, and I'd wonder how long I could keep shielding him from what was breaking. One afternoon, Nico ran into the kitchen holding a drawing like it was a trophy. "It's us," he shouted. "Mommy, Daddy, Bella, and me. We're happy." For stick figures with big heads, holding hands beneath a scribbled blue sky. Elisa smiled, kneeling to hug him. "It's beautiful, baby." And I felt a lump rise in my throat, because for a moment, I wanted to believe it too. That night, I stared at the ceiling while Nico's drawing sat on the coffee table. I thought about tearing it up not out of anger, but out of honesty. But I didn't. I folded it and placed it in the drawer next to the folder of digital betrayals. A shrine of opposites. Regret is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It slips in while you're buttering toast, zipping up a jacket, laughing at something and realizing it's the first time you've done that in weeks. One morning, I watched Elisa through the kitchen window. She was sitting on the back steps, face turned toward the sun. She looked peaceful. Tired, but peaceful. And I remembered Florence, the night she reached for my hand in the dark, thinking I was asleep. She didn't say a word. Just reached. Maybe that was her apology. Or maybe it was habit. We went to couples therapy again. Once. We both pretended it was for the kids. But it wasn't. The therapist was kind but direct. She asked, "What are you still hoping for?" Elisa didn't respond. I said, "I want to know I wasn't a fool for staying." The therapist nodded slowly. "That's not her job. That's yours." After that, I stopped asking Elisa questions I wasn't ready to hear answers to. One night, after the kids were asleep, I came back from the kitchen to find her sitting on the floor beside the couch. "I got the job offer," she said. "The one in Venice. Remote for now, but eventually I'd have to go once a month." I nodded. "I didn't accept it yet." "Why not?" She looked at me, tears balanced on the edges of her eyes. "Because I don't want to run. Not again." I sat beside her. Not touching. Just breathing the same air. "You already did," I said. "Running's not the problem. It's whether you'll stop." And we sat there. Wordless. Side by side. Regret doesn't ask for forgiveness. It just asks to be felt. And I felt it. Everywhere. It started with the toaster. A burned slice of bread. That's all it took. The morning was already tense. Isabella had been up twice during the night, and Nico had spilled yogurt all over his shirt just before we were supposed to leave for school. Elisa handed me a piece of toast, and I just stared at it. Blackened. Brittle. Ruined. I said, "It's burned." She replied, "Then throw it away." But I didn't. I stood there, holding it like it had something to say. And maybe it did. Maybe it said everything. "You know what?" I said. "This is exactly how we've been living. Burned on the outside, hollow on the inside." Elisa blinked. "It's toast, Mark." "No," I snapped. "It's us." Nico, half watching cartoons, looked up. "Daddy?" I lowered my voice, ashamed. "Sorry, buddy. Go back to your show." Elisa crossed her arms. "What do you want from me, Mark? An apology? Another one? A confession? You already read it all." "I want the truth," I said. "You have the truth." "No," I said, my voice shaking. "I have versions. I have explanations. I want to hear it from you. Out loud. I want to hear you say you betrayed me. That you hurt me. Not because I want to punish you, but because I need to know you see it too." She looked at me. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't look defensive. She looked broken. "I betrayed you," she whispered. "I hurt you. I lied to you while you were raising our children and holding our home together. The only other sound was the low murmur of cartoons from the next room. I nodded slowly. Thank you. Her eyes filled. Do you want me to go? No, I said. I want you to sit. We sat down at the table, across from each other. No distractions. No shields. I loved you, she said. I love you. But there was a part of me that needed to feel something. And Liam gave me that. Not because he was special. Because I was terrified that I wasn't. I made you feel invisible, I said quietly. No, she said. I made myself feel that way. You were trying so hard. You were being everything. I didn't know how to say I felt lost. You chose him, I said. I chose the fantasy, she said. I chose a version of myself that didn't have spit up on her shirt and bills stacked on the counter. A version of me who still felt wanted. And you loved me so much you forgot to ask what you needed. That one cut. Because it was true. We sat there, exhausted by the weight of it all. Then she asked, what now? I stared out the window at the garden Rosetta had replanted last spring. All the rosemary and thyme, dug up and started fresh. As if something new could still grow from the same soil. I don't know, I said. But I think this is the first real thing we've said to each other in months. Elisa reached across the table. I let her hand rest on mine. It didn't fix anything. But it didn't feel like another lie. I didn't leave. That would have been the clean break, right? Suitcase in hand. Dignity intact. But real life isn't cinematic. It's slow. It's messy. It's brushing your teeth next to someone who broke your heart and still asks if you're out of toothpaste. We started pretending again. Because what else do you do with 2 kids and a house full of shared furniture? We didn't fight as much, not because things got better, but because we stopped trying to win. One night, I found myself in the dark living room, scrolling through old videos on my phone. Nico's 2nd birthday. Isabella's first giggle. Elisa laughing, really laughing, as I danced like a fool in the kitchen. I should have turned it off. But I didn't. I let it loop until the battery died. Like if I watched long enough, maybe the past could charge the present. We started sleeping in the same bed again. Not touching. Just coexisting. One night, she reached for me in her sleep. I froze. She pulled her hand back. Sorry, she whispered. I didn't answer. I stared at the ceiling and counted the minutes until daylight. Then the call came. From Liam's wife. It was a Saturday morning. Elisa had gone to the store. I was making pancakes with Nico, and Isabella was in her high chair, tossing Cheerios at the dog. My phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Mark? The voice asked. I hesitated. Yes? This is Lena. Liam's wife. My stomach dropped. I just thought you should know, she said. Liam confessed. Everything. It wasn't just messages. It wasn't just once. It was an affair. A real one. Hotels. Lunch breaks. Even our home when I was out of town visiting my mom. I sat down slowly. Nico kept singing his pancake song behind me. I don't want to make it worse, she said. I figured you deserved the truth. From someone who's also drowning in it. I thanked her. Quietly. Hung up. Then stared at the countertop like it might have answers. When Elisa came home, she knew something had changed. What happened? She asked, breathless. Liam's wife called. Her mouth opened. Then closed. Then opened again. She told me the truth, I said. The rest of it. Elisa sat at the table. Her hands trembled. I wanted to tell you. I held up a hand. Don't. Mark, please. Don't lie. Not even to make it easier. And then I said it, the thing that had been burning a hole in my chest for weeks. I think I want a separation. Silence. No argument. No tears. Just the sound of our daughter chewing a Cheerio in the next room. That night, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic. Just enough for a few nights. I told Nico I had a work trip. He hugged me like he always did. I held on longer. When I pulled out of the driveway, Elisa stood at the window, arms folded like she was trying to keep herself together. I didn't wave. I drove to a cheap motel. Laid on the stiff bed. Stared at the ceiling. And let it sink in. She lied. And now. I was finally gone. It took 2 weeks before I opened her email. The subject line was simple, for when you're ready. Inside was a letter, not begging, not blaming. Just truth. She said she understood. That she would spend however long it took becoming someone worth trusting again, even if I never came back. That she'd see a therapist. That she'd tell the kids the truth when the time was right. That she wasn't asking for forgiveness, only that I remember who we were when things were good. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I started walking. Every day. Same park. Same path. One morning, I saw an old man feeding pigeons, smiling like it was a sacred act. Another day, a girl in a red coat fell off her scooter and got up laughing. The world didn't pause just because mine had. And somehow, that was comforting. After 3 weeks, I rented a tiny flat on the edge of the city. Just a bed, a table, a chair. But it was mine. I hung Nico's drawing on the fridge. I took Isabella on weekends. I showed up, even when I didn't know what to say. I started seeing a counselor. Not to fix my marriage, just to fix my breath. Some days, I still couldn't catch it. Then, on a rainy Saturday, I ran into Elisa at the grocery store. She was wearing a raincoat I didn't recognize and no makeup. She looked real. Honest. Tired, but alive. We stood by the frozen peas for almost 10 minutes. "I've been learning to be alone," she said. I nodded. "Me too." Then she smiled, not the smile of a wife, or someone asking for something. Just a person who once meant the world to me. "I hope you're eating better now," she said. "And sleeping more." "I am," I said. Some nights. We parted without a promise. No dramatic music. No tearful hug. But when I got back to my flat, I sat down on the couch, exhaled, and felt the breath go all the way down. Healing doesn't always look like reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like space. Sometimes it sounds like silence that doesn't hurt anymore. And sometimes, it's knowing that even if you never get back what was lost, you still get to become something new.